So next up is the project Safe Test. Safety and privacy protection when using test beds remotely with Mikhail Popov at RISE. Very welcome.
Thank you. How do I control the slides? Aha. The poster is not there just yet. It will be. Elsa unfortunately got sick, and I will bring it in the break. This is a Vinnova project, and this project is about scalability. It's the problem is that during the Corona times, so it was not possible to for the customers to come to test beds and to watch live demonstrations. So people started to, there was a need to start demonstrating it at a distance, so over the internet. And the problem, as we figure out, so even when you have your security routines, and they exist somewhere, and the reality is slightly different. So, and the regular researcher in test beds, and they use tools they have at hands, not that you are supposed to use. So they, when they get a task to perform a live demonstration, it means a video, and also combine it with some data, sensor data in one screen, and send it. So, and in some cases, as we discovered, people used YouTube to demonstrate things. So the idea is to have the expectation from the security perspective that the people will follow the routines you have. And so it's what we can call information and cybersecurity centric, but the reality is user centric. So we have the regular and usual researcher in the lab, and the RISE has about 100 test beds plus our partners' test beds, and we have thousands of customers. So, and this situation appears to be quite common. So essentially, the scalability is about how do we deliver or make the people work in the test beds if they would like to demonstrate what they do at a distance. So how they follow the routines. And the goal is simple, so it's to deliver it in the right language, in the right volume, and at the right place. So, and the right language, it means that if it's English, it's English, if it's Swedish, it's Swedish, but also in the language which people working in the field will understand. And this is like, illustration is that about that people who, if we produce security routines, so these people live on one planet, and people work in the field, they kind of come from another planet, and we need to help them to find a common language. So, what we did, we put ourselves in the position of a regular researcher. You know, how they think, how they do. They get a new customer. Sometimes a new customer, say in many cases, but by far not all of them, they have their own routines. You need to use their tools. So this solves the problem. But in many cases, especially with smaller companies, it's not the case. You need to do the otherwise. You need to help them, to explain them, and how they should do. And the first thing you need to do is to understand their needs. And the Lathun, the Easy Guide, we try to collect all our routines we have and reformulate it in a way that the people working in test beds will understand. And we had 2 external test beds and 2 test beds from RISE participate in this project. So in our expectation that this will scale up to more test beds, to the test beds we have. So the first thing to do that is to understand the customer. So we have come up with a questionnaire, general questionnaire, asking questions about how they manage the information, what are their security routines, and based on that, you can take a further step. It's difficult to see here, so I made a summary of the topics we have. So the first thing, you do understand the customer, what is their situation, how they manage the data, and what are their security routines. And this will help you to make a decision on an information class. And making an information class decision is critical, because this will help you a lot. It will help you to make a decision which tools you need to use. Sometimes it's okay to use Teams. Sometimes you need to use some specific tools, especially for higher security classes. And we try to put it in a language so the people will understand. And specifically for information classifications, we came up with examples, so to make it easier. So we essentially compiled all the documents we had on the security procedures and adapted them for this case, for demonstrating remotely. So the next step, of course, so it's based on, as soon as you have chosen the information class, so you need to choose the technical solutions, and we also try to make it easy. So sometimes it's kind of clearly based on the information class decided, so you can choose, for example, Teams. Or you have your own security solution for higher information classes, so it's also easy to find. There are links in the easy guide. So you just click, and you get clear instructions how to do that. The next step, we of course remind the people that they should also follow a safe digital behavior. Some companies have courses, some don't, so we just basically list the basics. An important thing, which was often left out as we figure out, is concerns about customer data. One specifically interesting aspect that people forgot always, or often to discuss, that what happens with the customer data after the project is finished. Some people suddenly started to remember, like, oh, we have old projects and the customer data is still at our servers. And so this is a reminder, essentially. It's a step that the people working in the field, they do not forget to discuss with the customers how to manage the data, the customer data, during the project, but also after the project is finished. So, and the last step is the, of course, if you perform the demonstration, still you need to think about the physical security, so that only the correct people have access to the demonstration facilities when you stream it. The last thing is there is a checklist. It was the last thing we produced, which is essentially last line of defense, so that it's mandatory, so you cannot avoid it. So, but it contains all these important steps. So you need to go and do classification, the information classification. If you follow the list, you need to choose the solution, and you need to look at the other aspects, which are important. So again, right language, right volume, and run place to paste the routines. So if you want to scale up your security routines to the testbeds you have, to the people working in the field. It's important to make this information classification so that it will be easy to implement for the people working in the field, and also to choose the solutions also in an easy way, so they don't need to look carefully and spend time on looking for the solution. And we shouldn't forget that the same attitude applies to the customer, and it's their data, but often, especially when it comes to smaller companies, so they would appreciate your help. So they often don't know very little about security, data information security. So if you help them, they will appreciate that. And it's always done in, say, in collaboration. So what we, for example, did, yes, so we, if you use for high classes, for example, in open source software, so it's good to make a penetration test. So, and that's what we did. And if you don't have a possibility, so you can come to us at RISE, we will help you. This easy guide, there will be a public version which will be available soon. It's adapted for general use and free to use. That was it.